2018. It was a bit of a slow end to 2017 with not much activity going on from me, so apologies for that, but we're back. We're ready to talk all things Leeds United. I am joined again this evening by Tom Mordy. Tom, how are you doing?
Well, good, mate. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to everybody listening as well. So Leeds United firmly involved in the January transfer window now after signing Adam Forshaw, ironically getting the number 4 shirt at Elland Road as well. 4-year deal. Was it a 4-year deal, I think? £3 million up front, possibly turning to £4.5 million. The deal comes after many fans' frustration that not much was going on. Yusuke Ideguchi was signed, sent straight to Spain on loan. Young Finnish lad came in but went straight into the youth team. Leeds fans slightly bemused by the lack of activity given the FA Cup defeat to Newport, the suspension of Samuel Said, and then the suspension of Ewan O'Kane after defeat to Ipswich. Leeds also dropping out the playoffs on goal difference and heading to Millwall, thankfully with a bit more power in midfield now. Obviously Ronaldo Vieira is coming back from injury, and Calvin Phillips himself is one yellow card away from suspension. Tom, do you think we needed that signing of Adam Forshaw?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's what we were all sort of looking for. I think the most pleasing thing about this deal is the way the board have acted and sort of brought in some championship experience. I know there's sort of concerns across the fan base, after the summer, that we've brought in the sort of alter-style players, the sort of European unknowns that largely hasn't quite clicked for Leeds United. I mean, Saiz aside, possibly Alioski as well, you could probably put in that category, but for the rest, it just hasn't really happened at Elland Road so far. And I think it's nice to see that while the club are taking a sort of long-term view on the future and trying to bring in a few players to develop, that also that there's still an eye on the present and now, and I think Forshaw provides that. Part of the Middlesbrough side who got promoted, he played 34 of their 38 Premier League games last year, so he's no mug in midfield. He knows what he's doing, and by all accounts, speaking to Borough fans, he's a tidy player. He's sort of in the O'Kane mould. He'll make the midfield tick along with sort of tidy passing and decent distribution. I think alongside Vieira, he could be just what we need actually in that little partnership right there.
I think you could, and you're right. And a lot of my personal friends and Middlesbrough fans, and the majority of them say he's a good player, and I know he was regarded when they were in the Premier League last season as one of their few standout players from what was obviously relegation season for them. So it's positive, isn't it? And do you think it shows an element of the fact that the ownership, the owner Radrizzani and Orta are listening to the fans? Because before, Orta had sort of give indication that activity in the January transfer window is not really his style, because obviously you get an inflated market, people panic buy. But given the recent results and the suspensions and the injuries and the fact that they went out and signed a midfielder, do you think that shows that they want to work with supporters and are able to identify the problems?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's become sort of the trend of sort of Radrizzani's reign so far. I mean, a lot of it has been sort of PR-driven stuff. He went out, he bought the ground as an absolute winner for one and all. That won everyone over almost immediately. And just little campaigns like the scarves at Elland Road, sort of answering people's calls on Twitter. I mean, I don't know about atting the owner with every sort of transfer request that everyone seems to put in, but I think he quite clearly gets the message of that sort of a way of him being on social media, but it's kind of all plain to see as well in front of them. There's a danger of our season sort of slipping away into mid-table, and it's good to see that actually the scouting team that we have established have realised that it isn't just you can't just get away with plugging holes with players that might turn into good players, but we also need a bit of the here and now, and I think that's definitely what Forshaw is going to provide. We've got some decent options in midfield. I think Vieira on his day is absolutely brilliant. Obviously he struggled with his knee problem this season. He's probably missed more games than he'd like, but when he's on song, he's, in my opinion, our best midfielder. I'm impressed with Phillips, though. I think he a good game against Ipswich last week, but has looked a little jaded over the Christmas period. Probably quite a long run of games. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's had more sort of involvement this year, and who sort of seems to slip in and out of the team after quite a promising start to the season. and where Klitsch hasn't really had the chance to show what he can do, and it looks like Christensen probably wants rid. So it's definitely an area Leeds needed to bolster, and I think they've done well to move reasonably early in the window. Still 2 weeks left to get that one over the line.
Yeah, and interesting, I ran a poll on Twitter for an hour, 707 votes. Asked, are you pleased with the signing of Adam Forshaw? 95% said yes. So, thumbs up on Twitter for the signing of Forshaw. And just going back to the Ipswich defeat and even the cup defeat, what areas did it expose, do you think? Do you think it obviously exposed the much talked about striker position? Obviously, Lasogga isn't really pulling up any trees and isn't winning many fans over with his sort of lethargic approach, and people call him lazy. Kemar Roof has sort of dipped in and out of being the lone striker, got a hat-trick against QPR, but then doesn't go and score in a few games. Did it highlight the need for a new striker?
I think a new striker is the one thing that we still do need this window. It's the one thing we need to get over the line. I think it's the one thing still holding back our season, as it has been since the very start. We just can't seem to find that goal scorer who's going to deliver the sort of campaign that Wood did last year, that fired us so close last year. And it's almost ironic, really. The sort of 2 seasons have flipped themselves on the head. Last year we relied on one player for sort of all our goals, and Wood was our talisman that we turned to when we needed to dig out a win. We found him in and around the area, and more often than not, he'd pop up with a goal, and it was a case of it was Wood or nothing, really. Whereas this year we've sort of played in spite of a striker, if you like, and a lot of it sort of comes from behind that front man. As you say, Roof in and out. The hat-trick at QPR was a terrific performance. The sort of game where you thought, he should go on and make that spot his own. But then, he had a decent finish at Burton on Boxing Day. But then there was a couple of really disappointing ones. The one at Forest was poor when he hit the bar and he should have scored. That should have been 3 points right there. But it's not, at least with Roof, it's not for the want of trying. He works hard.
Yeah.
I thought he was another one who had a decent game in Ipswich in sort of telling circumstances. Obviously going down to 10 men, he worked their back four hard, and a tall back four as well. You're not going to get much margin against a player like Luke Chambers. So Roof is a good option to have, but I just think we need a bit more quality around there. You talk about Lasogga, and he's clearly not fitness-wise up to it. Whether that is sort of attitude or energy, it's just not quite worked, because there's clearly a goal scorer in there, but just not quite showing the physical attributes to match it so far.
I'm going to put you in a scenario here, Tom. You are the manager. You're given a realistic budget to sign a striker. Who would you go out and sign?
A tricky one. I think my money would be on Jordan Hugill. I think he fits the Leeds mould. I think 8 million is pricey, but it's the sort of price you will pay for a sort of top Championship centre forward. He seems available. He handed in a transfer request in the summer. I think the Preston board, by all accounts, would listen to an offer of around that much. He scores goals. He's a physical presence. He works hard. And I think in Hugill, I sort of see a bit of what you might see of Wood in that first year. He's quite raw, but there's a man with sort of, the physical attributes to succeed in this league. He can go up against the sort of bullying defenders, the teams that like to boss you around, and, put himself about like Wood did. But I think there's also the skill there, where the guy can clearly finish. He's got some technique as well, and there's quite a few teams looking at that. I mean, outside Hugill would be my personal first choice. I didn't think the Chris Martin links were too unreasonable. I know by all accounts his wages were rather higher than what we're looking for, but he's another one who sort of has a presence up front if you're going to play one up there in that system. Leonardo Ajo at Leicester never seems to play, can't get a game. He's done the business at Brighton at this level, scored a few crucial goals for them in the Premier League. I don't know if he could be tempted into a loan move. Aston Villa seem to be having a look at that. And then obviously the links, the other one is Jack Marriott, the lad banging them in down at Peterborough up front for them. But for me, the figures talked about for him, sort of 6 million, is only a couple of million less than Hugill, who's a proven Championship performer, whereas Marriott would have to step up like Roof, adjust to stepping up the division. And he looks to have the quality and skills to do that. But if you're going to pay that sort of money, I'd quite like it to be someone already putting the goals away in the Championship.
Certainly put your case forward there, didn't you?
I tried. We'll see.
No, I think you're right. I think Hugill. I think if you look on paper, he certainly fits the style of player we have. Obviously, Wood was scoring goal after goal after goal, and obviously we sold him for £15 million. And he's quite a similar player to Wood, isn't he, Hugill? Where I think is Marriott is, although a lone striker, he could play as, I think. He's got a bit more pace and a bit more agility, and you never know, really, do you? I know Peterborough's sort of business model down there is to nurture players, to sign a lot of players from the lower leagues for a smallish price, sell them on for more. You know, if you look at Dwight Gale, other players like Asan Belonga, who was at Watford, I think, at the time. So you never know what the club are going to do, but I think I'm fairly confident we'll get a striker in the window. But like Adam Forshaw, it came from nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's the way Leeds have looked to do business, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Sort of keep it quiet, get it over the mark. We saw that in the summer actually. Sort of a lot of names bandied around all over the continent, and next thing you know, bang! Someone we hadn't heard of was coming through the door. It's a good thing for me. It means there's no leaks, there's no one talking, there's no one letting on what's going at the club, and it must make it a hell of a lot easier for the club trying to do transfer business. And it's good to see the club sort of moving fast on these deals. You know, they got De Bock over the line reasonably quickly. They identified the target, put the bid in, and signed him. So there's no messing around. They've done the same with Forshaw. You know, all the talk of Adam Clayton coming in, and we went ahead and signed his teammate. So, you know, the club have obviously got their targets in mind. They're obviously talking to people, and it's good to see that they're acting on that, and we're not getting pipped to the post, especially when teams like Cardiff are being linked with Forshaw. You know, a side above us in the table, and by all accounts, with more money to spend than us. Yeah,
and a team will we play quite soon as well.
Yeah, February the 3rd, that one.
Yeah, it's interesting about De Bock. I mean, he signed. I think I almost forgot that he actually played for us, even though he hasn't started a game yet, because obviously the spotlight was elsewhere on O'Kane and other stuff, and he wasn't even featured against him, which was interesting. And obviously, I don't think Anita has worked at left back. Berardi isn't an actual left back, despite I think he did an all right job there. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing De Bock and seeing what his sort of pedigree is, whether he can get forward like Charlie Taylor did, because I think that is something we're lacking, isn't it?
100%. I think that's the other glaring sort of weakness in our team has been the left back spot. You know, love Berardi to pieces, but he's not the sort of offensive full back that the modern day kind of demands. I mean, like or loathe Taylor, that's what he did. He drove forward and he could defend as well. He was the all-round full-back, especially at this level. He could offer that option, you know, going beyond the winger, put a cross in, and then he was a solid defender as well, was Taylor, and we've definitely missed that element to our game this season. Berardi's solid defensively, you know, he'll handle wingers in this division, but yeah, he's not quite got the need to go forward. And besides, you know, we're going to need his talents at right back for the foreseeable future with the untimely loss of Ayling. So that was one that they had to do quickly, and look forward to seeing him play on Saturday, hopefully.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate that Luke Ayling's out for the rest of the season. Do hope he recovers quicker than anticipated and he's ready to go next season. Hopefully he'll be in the Premier League as well.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. So we head into Saturday, Tom, against Millwall, the team that ended our unbeaten run at the start of the season, at the Den. They're bringing 1,400 Millwall fans to Elland Road on Saturday. That should be interesting. But
fun.
Always fun. But for me, a very difficult game in store, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Millwall will be the sort of prospect that faced us at the Den. You know, 1,400 may well come to Elland Road, but not quite as easy to make the same sort of noise as they did in Bermondsey back in September. You know, they've not won away from home all season, which is a very bad stat for a Leeds United side who love to break that sort of record traditionally. But they thrive off beating sides on their own turf. You know, they thrive off the noise and the passion that Neil Harris brings them. It's been a while since they've won at Elland Road. 2010. I think it's last 4 meetings. They've not won here, so it's a ground we seem to do well on against them, and let's hope that continues. Though, if they if they do manage to find the sort of physical presence and the sort of high pressing and high pressure game that they imposed on us back in September, then we need to find better answers. We did on that day, because we got absolutely found out well and truly, and that set the blueprint, I think, for some of the performances that followed.
Yes, it should be a tough game, I think, but one you would expect to win, wouldn't you? Really, I think. Like you just said there, it's different when they've not won away all season. They come to Elland Road. There's going to be probably about 32,000 there. Probably plenty of scarves flying about, and I think we'll feel a bit rejuvenated with the additions that are coming in. You would expect De Bock to play if he's fit. I think you would probably expect Forshaw to start as well, with the absences of O'Kane and possibly Vieira. Phillips, sort of, he's a difficult one. Phillips, isn't he? He puts in a decent performance, then he sort of chases the game a bit. So I think he will benefit from having Mr. Forshaw next to him if that's how he approaches the game. But then, like I said earlier, Phillips, 1 yellow card away from suspension, and they soon add up, don't they? Other players might get suspensions, so the January window is very important, and we've got a very difficult run-up come as well after Millwall. Play Cardiff on Hull City on the 30th. Got a new manager, struggling a bit. Not an easy place to go to, and obviously Cardiff is a huge game, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some biggies coming up, and as you said, if we are going to be around that top 6, we have to beat Millwall at home. It's the sort of game we have to take 3 points from. It'll be a week's rest next weekend after our FA Cup demise, but then after that it gets nasty.
Yeah.
Sheffield United, Bristol City, and then Derby. So that's sort of 4 teams in and around us after that Hull game, where the pressure's going to be on, and as you say, suspensions are going to be kicking in. Injuries do kick in at this time of the season. You just come out of a busy Christmas run. The more numbers, the better, I think. And this is a real test of sort of where the squads kicks in. We've seen a lot of that top 6 faltering. Sheffield United, no win in 10. Bristol City falling apart after their cup run. At home Norwich last week, shipped 5 at Aston Villa. Cardiff really struggled for form before they went to beat a poor Sunderland side.
I think for me, the teams that are up there are very vulnerable to a bad run of form, aren't they? I mean, most of the teams who were up there were not regarded as favourites at the start of the season, were they really? I mean, Villa, even Villa, like, had a poor season before that. Some people may have said they wouldn't be up there again, but people like Sheffield United, Bristol City almost got relegated last season. So if you look to their form at the end of last season and how they went on such a bad run, the suspect to it, Arnie, we need to take advantage of that when teams go on a bad run and try ourselves not to go on a bad run.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of the Championship, isn't it? Everyone seems to be able to beat everybody. It's such a hard division, and what we've seen over that Christmas period is the squeeze in the middle. I think before Christmas we did sort of take advantage of that. We put together a string of wins and got ourselves back in the top 6 after falling away. But look at the teams below us. Fulham have flown up on the outside. I expect Middlesbrough to start picking up results under Pulis. The new Sheffield Wednesday manager looks like he means business. And you look at a side like Norwich City. I mean, they've had a terrible season, and they're only 6 points off the top 6, and putting a blinding performance at Chelsea last night. And you look at that, when you look at that sort of calibre of side, sort of struggling mid-table and still only 6 points off the playoffs, and you sort of think a run from anybody could string together a top 6 finish. We saw Fulham do it last year. They obviously pipped us to the post. They came from absolutely nowhere after Christmas. Yeah. And that's the way you can do it in this division. You pick up a bit of form, a bit of momentum, and we should be aiming to do the same. Elland Road is consistently over 30,000, using the crowd, bolstering, a bit of confidence from the new signings, and why not us? Let's hope that we can produce some sort of similarly inspiring form.
Yeah, definitely. And At the moment, how do you feel the season is going to pan out?
I mean, I sort of came away from Ipswich thinking this one's going the same way as last year, just a little bit earlier. I kind of feel that like we're petering away. I mean, you kind of felt that there were a couple of results before Christmas that they weren't great, despite the 3 points. You know, I thought we were lucky to beat Hull.
Yeah, I did as well.
On the Saturday, I thought they were much the better side. We went to Burton, we were 1-0 down. Fortunately, we broke that curse of conceding the first goal and not getting anything out of a game. But I wouldn't say we were terrific there. No. Then we turned in an appalling performance at Birmingham, sort of tired and jaded, and then followed that up with another lethargic display against Forest. And then, you know, you take the cup debacle, and then, you know, we were unfortunate on Saturday against Ipswich. We were the better side. We went for them with 10 men, but, you know, moments of ill discipline have cost us, and you know, that's the sort of thing that can cost you a season, and confidence seeps away. And I think it did need that little boost in the window just to pick the side up again. And Saturday's the opportunity to turn it round.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm looking forward to it. Do you think we'll get 3 points?
Yeah, I think we will. I think we need 3 points. I think, you know, we need to come out fighting. It's 3 games in the league without a win, and throw a cup game in there as well. I think Christian's going to be looking for a response from his players. Perhaps the O'Kane thing might push them together a little bit. Sort of no more moments of stupidity. Have a few words with themselves, and I think we will come out winning on Saturday. I think this is the game to turn it round.
Well, fingers crossed for Saturday. Fingers crossed for the rest of the transfer window. Do you think we'll get any more players in?
Has to be a striker.
Yeah.
And then, if they're feeling extra kind, perhaps a winger as well.
I actually keep forgetting that Stuart Dallas is to return to the team as well.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, he was excellent start of the season. He couldn't get inside, and he kept popping off the bench. There was the goal at Sunderland, the goal against Birmingham. He's an excellent choice, and I like Dallas.
I do.
I think if he'd have been fit, he'd have been well worth a run in this side. I think Alioski needs someone to push him for his place. He's looked a little... Yeah. Perhaps overconfident in recent weeks. He looks a little unchallenged, and you know, I think a spell on the bench might not do him any harm at all, to be honest.
Definitely. Hopefully, Stuart Dallas can push Alioski for his place, and hopefully Leeds can get back to winning ways on Saturday against Millwall. Well, Tom, I know you've got a cold, so I'm going to let you get some Lemsip, have an early night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took up for Saturday.
Yeah. And we'll do this next week.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody who has listened and bared with me whilst we got a new podcast out for you guys. If you're on Apple, then obviously listen to it on iTunes. You can listen it on to... I'm going to put it on Google's Play Store as well. So if you're listening on Android, that's maybe where you can listen to this from. Going forward, it'll be on Android and iPhone, so tune in. Don't forget to give us some feedback as well. Are you enjoying the content? Is there certain things you want to see? Just let me know. Follow me on Twitter at Radebe_Leeds. Follow Tom at Tom Modi, Tom.
Yep, that's the one.
And then we'll see you next time. Thank you.